Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Jim Bachman. I am with the Maryland Wineries Association. Right now you should see our splash screen up showing the virtual wine tasting graphic. We're going to take that down in just a second while our participants are settling in and getting ready. Today we're joined by Robin at Hills Farm Vineyard and Damon at the Urban Winery. Both of these wonderful people are going to share some wines with you and give you the opportunity to ask some questions about what's going on in their wineries and what's happening in Maryland wine. We have a lot of fun and exciting things happening. Today is Maryland Day. It is also the last Wednesday of Maryland Wine Month. So we've got a great group on this afternoon for this celebration. It's a little bit of an awkward time right now. Our tasting rooms throughout the state are not open for guests to come in and enjoy Maryland wine while they are sitting in the tasting room, but the tasting rooms are available for folks to come in and purchase wine to go or schedule pickups ahead of time, or in some cases get delivery from wineries. And we'll let Robin and Damon talk about how their two wineries are handling these new retail opportunities and challenges. So if you have any questions while this is happening, please feel free to drop them right into the comments section. Share this with your friends. We'd love to have them join us and watch also, and enjoy learning a bit about Maryland wine. I'm going to hand this over to Robin at Hidden Hills. The first thing that I'm going to do is show a graphic of the new tasting room at Hidden Hills, because they were supposed to open this tasting room to the public just a few days ago, and due to all of the wonderful updates in the world, have not had that opportunity. So Robin, give me 2 seconds. I'm putting the graphic up, and why don't you go ahead and start talking?
So hello, happy Maryland Wine Month. I'm glad that you'll be able to at least see our new tasting room thanks to Zoom. And I want to tell you a little bit about it. The area I'm sitting in housed 7 horse stalls, which we took out to make this tasting room. We have 7 horses still on the property, which we board right on the other side of this tasting room. The Amish who built our horse barn are the same people who built this beautiful place, and the wood is held together by pegs instead of nails, and just incredible craftsmanship. You'll see when he pins on a meat, you'll see some of the beautiful artwork they did in terms of our logo. So it's been a really trying time, and I hope everybody in the industry is staying well and positive. And I do want to do a shout out to all the healthcare workers and who are my heroes. My son and his wife are resident doctors up in New York, and it's really bad. And I want to thank our governor, because he was very quick to shut things down. And I know that affected all of our businesses, but if you compare our numbers with other states, it seems like we're on a much better trajectory. So that said, I'm going to start first with Cremello. So all of my wines are named after either a horse breed or a specific horse or a horse coat color. And Cremello is it's a horse with a pale yellow coat. It's not quite a white, or as we say in the horse industry, a gray. So, and this is a combination of Sauvignon Blanc, Albarino, and Vidal Blanc, all of which we grow all of those grapes here. Unfortunately, our Sauvignon Blanc is not ours. It's very tricky, and but it is my favorite grape. So, so here's the Sauvignon Blanc. So I'll tell you a little bit about this. It was for many of our whites, in fact, most of our whites, we use native yeast, and we find that from year to year, it changes the profile of the wine, but I understand that eventually your natural yeast start populating in your wine rooms, so you get some consistency for that. But and it was aged in stainless steel, all stainless steel. So. So it's a pretty full palette on this white. It has notes of guava. And at the end, it has some white pepper, a nice white pepper finish. I think it's a great wine to drink any time. It's got a little heavier palate than some of our other whites. All right, I'm going to move on.
Robin, with the Cremello, do you mind sharing a couple of ideas for pairing that people might be able to use?
Well, I think because it's kind of a guava mango flavor that, I don't know, I'm not good at pairing, I must say, because I will drink wine with anything. So, yeah, obviously something lighter, something like, I'm not good at that, sorry.
So pair it with anything that you enjoy and at any time, and it should be great.
Okay, anytime, but definitely red meat. So.
Wonderful.
So I want to talk a little bit about the next wine. It's called Xoxo, and it's a rosé. We did 2 rosés this year, all from our Chambertin grapes, all state wines. This one is a little lighter because we've added some the Chardonnay and Céval and a little Albarino to this. So whereas our other one is a pure estate and it's a little heavier and the color is a little darker because Maryland rosés tend to be that way. I remember when I made my first rosé, I took it over to Anthony at Linganore and I said, these grapes were only left, the skins were only left on for 4 hours. Why is it so dark? Why isn't it that beautiful French rosé color? And he laughed and he ran and got a bottle of their rosé and said, yes, that's exactly the color ours is as well. So that made me feel better. And this is really the kind of color you should see in a Maryland rosé that's using Chambertin. And this is just bottled, so it's not going to be on sale for a while. It just got transferred. I mean, it's just been put in storage today, and it's of course got some bottle shock, but I did taste it before this and I was pleasantly surprised, but I'm still not going to put it out for a couple of months. So there's the color of this rosé. And I wanted to talk about the name Xoxo, if I might. We are a horse farm, and I sit on the board of the Days End Horse Farm Rescue. And I named this wine for a horse that came in. It was a miniature pony, and that had been abused and was infested with all kinds of little critters. And it's been rehabilitated. It's been made healthy. It's very happy, and it's out for adoption at Days End Horse Farm. And I wanted to share something they put on their website because I know that many of the people who buy our wine are own horses or they're horse lovers. And I just wanted to read what they sent out today, especially for any of you with children at home who also love horses or want to learn more about horses. So unfortunately, the Days End Horse Farm, it's the largest horse rescue in the state of Maryland and largest adoption center for horses. And it's usually teeming with volunteers. And I'm sure the horses are missing all the volunteers that come out and work with them. And I know a lot of us are not in a position right now to feed charities, but in the future, please do. Please remember Days End. And a portion of this wine does go to Days End of the sales of this wine. If you go to the website, which is DEFHR, Days End Farm Horse Rescue, DEFHR.org, they have a collection of some inspiring content. They have free educational materials about horses. They have coloring books, educational coloring books about horses for children, some feel-good reads, some wonderful uplifting videos, although I cry every time I watch the videos about these adoptions, and positive things that you can share with people. So we're all in this together. So here's to Xoxo, and so happy that he made his way to Days End. So before I bottled, the notes I had on this rosé were that it's lighter and brighter because it's not just the Chambourcin. As I said, I've added some more whites to this, and it's a nice light one. And this one is the one that's coming out in the spring. So I think it'll be perfect. And I don't know, pair with strawberries, it'll look beautiful. So, okay, good. So that's Xoxo.
Robin, I went ahead and ensured that we mentioned the Days End Farm Horse Rescue in that description in the comments. So if anybody's interested, please click there and see about the great work that they're doing and how you can help them at this time of need.
Yes, and you can also help them by buying Xoxo rosé, and so it's a win-win for all of us. All right, moving on. So the next one is Blue Rhone. This is this is a 2016 Blue Rhone. It was from our first harvest of our Chambourcin, which was planted in 2014. It's just been a fabulous workhorse for us. It's very happy. It loves its home at Hidden Hills. Started producing many tons for us. We have 4 acres of it. Started producing many tons right away, which we've sold, and we've sold to different wineries around the state. So a Blue Rhone horse actually has kind of a purplish color coat. So since the Chambourcin does give you like kind of a violet purple, the skins of that violet purple, I picked that horse to name this after. So here it is. And I know this was, I believe this one was what got a gold for the category of Chambourcin, which was really important to me to have my first, I feel that all of us should be embracing Chambourcin. It is our wine, it is a Maryland wine. It loves to be here, and in the European model, you make wine from the grapes that just thrive in your area. And so I was very pleased, and I was determined to make a Chambourcin worthy of Maryland. So you can see the color, it's a little purplish, a little violet. So again, this palette, I think also, as mentioned, strawberry, this definitely has a palette of tart strawberry, still does. That was the original bottling note for that. So some raspberries and blueberries, all of that, kind of a riper blueberry. And I find some, I guess on the nose, I feel like it's really, I get some violet florals on this too. So, I mean, which makes no sense because purple doesn't mean, and violet doesn't mean that the nose is that way, but I kind of feel that it is. So anyway, so I think you'll enjoy this. It's been very popular, one of the most popular wines that we have other than our rosés. So I think you'll enjoy this one. And I'm going to end with another charity that I was involved with. And I want you to think at this time of, I'm a huge proponent of the performing arts. I sat on several performing art boards, including the Weinberg. So the Weinberg Center for the Arts in Frederick County, and I made this wine for them, and a portion of the profits from this wine will be going to the Weinberg Center for the Arts. We were going to have a big introduction for this at the opening, but we'll do that at a later date because it's a really nice bold red blend. So I'm sure it'll just get better and better over time. And so the story of Chaladon and the Weinberg Center for the Arts. So Chaladon was a racehorse in Walkersville, Maryland, and the owner of this racehorse was a good friend of Jack Warner of Warner Studios. So he told his friend to bet on this horse, this racehorse, and the racehorse came in and paid huge payback to Warner. So he asked his friends what he could do, you know, to give back for him, suggesting that he bet on this horse. And I don't know if that's permitted to pay him back somehow. But anyway, he said, you know, we have this center in Frederick, and nothing in Frederick is air conditioned. So he said, okay, I'll put in an air conditioning for the Weinberg. And I'll tell you that air conditioning system lasted till about 3 years ago, because when I was on board, we finally replaced the whole HVAC system. So it was a great contribution. You can see a picture of Shaladon. It still hangs in the Weinberg Center for the Arts today. And please, please, when we're allowed to gather again, please support your performing arts venues, because it's so important to all of us. So, and I hope they make it through. I'm sure everybody will be happy to get back and have the Weinberg running again. So this is probably the deepest, the most complex of the 4 wines that we're tasting today. It is a blend of 50% Cabernet Sauvignon, 30% Cabernet Franc, then 10% Petit Verdot, and 10% of Syrah. So I just feel this is so, it's just so, it's so, I'm sorry, this is, this has been a tough period for us, but I just really feel that it's got some great aromas, some great dried floral aromas, and it's a beautiful color. I think it's nice and deep, obviously for the addition of the Petit Verdot, and it's really, it's got blackberry, it's got spice, and as I said, it's a real full palate wine. So I enjoy this one, obviously with, you know, any kind of red meat and chocolates, and I feel like there's a note of chocolate in this one too. So here's to Shaladon.
And Robin, while you're sampling that delicious sounding wine, I just want to interject that we've been asking folks for the last 2 weeks to find ways that they can support Maryland wine. And I don't think people understand that there are innumerable ways that wineries in Maryland support their communities, and the organizations within their communities that make big impacts on what people experience as Marylanders. So I just want to point out that 2 of the wines that Robin featured today directly support organizations that do great work for the communities here in Maryland, and that are going to be struggling just like everybody through this whole thing. And there's a good amount of selflessness that comes with the idea of helping your community. And I think it's important that the community knows we rely on their support, and the community is relying on the support of your businesses. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Thank you. So, so yes, we are available. If you go on our website, you can pick up any of our wines. We'll deliver within a 20-mile radius. Ask your liquor stores to contact us if they've run out of any of the wines, or if you'd like them to carry it. And I really look forward, because when this is all over, we're going to have the biggest, baddest party in Frederick.
Well, we're all looking forward to it, and hopefully that will be much sooner than later. The tasting room is beautiful. I can't wait to come out and see it. And thank you for being with us. If you're okay to hang on, we would love to have you on in case some questions come up. But if you need to run, you're welcome to do that too. And give me about 20 seconds, and we're going to switch over to Damon at the Urban Winery in Silver Spring. For those watching, we are very fortunate here in Maryland to have a wide breadth of business models that support the wine industry. We've got farm wineries with vineyards on the farms, like what Robin's representing today. And we also have urban wineries, which are wineries located in urban areas, in cities, in places where people still want great wine that's crafted by great winemakers. And we're fortunate to have Damon joining us from the Urban Winery. I'm going to hand it over to him and pull up a picture of his location for everybody to take a look at. Damon, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Hey, I'm hanging in there. Thanks very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about the Urban Winery, what your family is doing there, what your business model has been, and the history of the company, and I'll get some pictures pulled up that you shared with me.
I appreciate that. So the Urban Winery right now is completely upside down on its head. It's changing the way we're viewing how we're going to move forward. It's scary, but it's refreshing. Doing things that we've wanted to get done over the last few years, with focusing on more networking, getting out into more retail locations, online sales. Never thought we'd be doing deliveries. And I know that that's probably going to be a short-lived thing, but our voice will be loud enough, and maybe we could continue to pursue that. I did find some fun humor in thinking, here I am roaring into my 40s, and I'm now a wine delivery guy. No shame, I would do it no matter what, because this is our livelihood. You had mentioned there are definitely different models of wineries, and being the only urban winery, we have some new ones coming on. But for the last 5 years, our model has been bringing the winemaking experience to the people in the environment that is not a rural environment, but an urban environment, and just play on our strengths. George and I, full disclosure, I am certainly not the winemaker. My beautiful wife is, and now our 3 children are also partaking in winemaking is part of the business. And when they become of age, they'll do the business side of the business, and that is what I do. But as an urban winery, we've been collectively working with other local businesses, farmers, to get excellent grapes, and to create and ferment and to experiment with different varieties. At your winery, we also partake in pairings. We love that part of the wine world. We're not a vineyard, but we focus on the science, the enology, the cultural, the spiritual, the physiological, the social components of wine. And in our tasting room, as it shows here, is a warm environment with lots of beautiful wood I reclaimed from the space that it existed. Robin spoke very beautifully about her farm, and then in the horse stables and things. This building was built in Silver Spring in the 50s and was used by the Walter Reed, and the first mechanical arm was created right here in this building, as I was told from the historian of Silver Spring. We do have one, and now it's converted into this warm, glowing environment where we produce the wines here and others, but we focus our reserve wines that we do here at the Urban Winery.
Did we lose you? Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool.
And I guess in these times, as I started, we are upside down. We're here without the noise, the people are
Damon, we seem to have frozen. If you can hear me, just hang tight. Maybe we're having a connection issue. I still see Robin moving, so I think that's good. All right. Well, we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Let me see if I can get Damon back on here. And in the meantime, I will throw a link to the Urban Winery up on the comments so you can take a look at their location in Silver Spring.
While you're doing that, can I add something?
Yeah, please. I was just going to ask if you had any riffing you wanted to offer while I'm trying to get a hold of Damon real quick.
Well, back to Days End Horse Farm. Just so you know that what we had planned and what we will have when we finally open, our ribbon cutting will be between two of the rescue horses from Days End Farm. So I'll be able to, and I'm going to make a special ask for them to bring Xoxo, the little miniature pony too. So.
That's wonderful. You still house horses on the farm?
Yes, we have 7 horses. Yes.
Is the intent for them to be there regularly and for guests to be able to see them and wave at them and all that lovely stuff?
Yes, they're privately owned, all of the horses here. And they're all competitive horses, except for mine, because I'm not competing. But everyone else is competing, so they're dressage horses, hunter jumpers, and hunters. So you will see them when they're out in the fields, but we ask not to feed them. But on the day that we have Days End, those horses are specifically trained to interact with children and people, and that's why they're called the ambassadors. So when they're here, everyone will be able to interact. We had also planned for, this is the most adorable thing I've ever seen, and I hope to get them back for the opening. There's some horse vaulters, and they're these little teeny tiny little girls, and they do their gymnastics on a horse, and it's really a sight to see. And the horse just goes around. He's being lunged in a circle. He's got a big broad back, and it's so exciting to see the team do that. But otherwise, on the farm, it's a 103-acre farm. We have now approximately 17 acres under cultivation, and our goal is to get to 20, which will be a requirement for Maryland wineries, but it will also it also is kind of the break-even point for growing grapes for any grape grower. So I must say that the University of Maryland has seen us through so much. I just kudos to University of Maryland during that disastrous 2018, and with the spotted lanternfly, which has infested many of the vineyards in Pennsylvania. So far, fingers crossed, that's our next, after that pandemic, we were looking for the pandemic of the spotted lanternfly, but great research going on at the University of Maryland to help us with that particular pest. And so I think that when you think of wine, everyone thinks of the tanks and how long it's fermented and what kind of barrels are being used. And by the way, we only use French oak barrels, but because I'm a big believer in that. But we don't really realize the great risks that anyone in agriculture, but particularly grape farmers, are going through. So we whenever we can, we try to reach out to other Maryland growers and use their grapes and share and produce as much Maryland estate grown wine as we can.
That's a really wonderful thing. I think that this is the perfect juxtaposition on this particular virtual tasting, to have such an agricultural industry being showcased with a winery that's representing something that people may take agriculture for granted when they walk through the door at the Urban Winery. They don't necessarily think of that agricultural product coming in and becoming the great wine that they're going to taste. Whereas at a winery like Hidden Hills, the guest has the opportunity to understand that they're part of what's going on with agriculture, and they're experiencing all of that. So I really enjoy that. And I think that's great for consumers in Maryland to be able to see that in both directions. We're still working on getting Damon on.
Okay. And that's actually why, so we were originally a horse farm, and the reason I got into growing grapes is we do have 103 acres here, and I wanted to make it productive, and I just loved wine. So I looked around and said, I can do that. I can grow it. I mean, it's just, it amazes me, the brilliance of farmers, because this was a new industry for me. And, you know, the mathematics they need to know, the business side they need to know, the science, it's just a lot, and a lot of hard work and mechanics. And I just have such respect for farmers in general at this time. And you know, thanks for feeding us in Maryland. So, and I hope everybody comes through this. So it comes through this well, because, you know, and particularly for all the grape growers, because I think, I don't know how, I guess in this audience, I don't know what the audience is outside of the Maryland Wineries Association, but you know, from the time a vineyard is planted, we started in 2014. Usually you have to wait 4 years. I was very lucky with the Chamberson, but you usually have to wait 4 years where you have no revenue whatsoever while you're waiting for those grapes to grow, and you have the costs and the labor, and you know, that's going on for 4 years before anything happens. So you know, just realize that when you go to buy your Maryland wine.
Sorry, I'm trying to manage multiple windows at a time here to make sure that we're getting everybody in. Everybody who's waiting for the Urban Winery, I apologize. There was a technical difficulty. Damon was right in the middle of telling us all about the wonderful things they're doing there in Silver Spring, and we had a frozen video and audio. So we're trying to get Damon back right now as we're going. So I apologize if you are here working and waiting for that. In the meantime, I do have a comment in the comment section of this video with a link to the Urban Winery, so you can take a look there while we are waiting. And I'll use this time to just let everybody know that Maryland Wineries are open for business right now. While you are not able to visit your favorite local winery and sit in their tasting room and enjoy their wines, you may purchase wine to take home. Many of the wineries throughout the state are offering delivery options. Robin from Hidden Hills Farm Vineyard just talked about the 20-mile radius that they're offering for delivery. Damon indicated that they're offering delivery of wine, I imagine, in the Silver Spring area. And wineries all throughout the state are offering some very unique ways to get delicious Maryland wine to you. Just a quick reminder, today is Maryland Day, so it's a wonderful day for us to be celebrating with Maryland wine. And it is the last Wednesday of Maryland Wine Month. Unfortunately, this year's Maryland Wine Month was hijacked by COVID-19, and we were not able to put all of our efforts behind celebrating in tasting rooms with Maryland wine drinkers, which was our goal. And instead, we had to be very creative across the industry to figure out how we could help ensure that all of our wineries make it through this in a good way. So I am waiting on a couple of updates, and we are getting a message that Damon is just about ready to be back on. I think we may have solved the technical difficulty, and as soon as he's back, we'll be ready to rock and roll. Any other cool updates you want to share with us, Robin, while we wait?
Well,
how is this year's crop looking? Let's talk about positive things. I've heard some great stuff because of the weather, that there's some great potential for grapes this year. So let's talk about that.
Well, actually, I would like to talk about our reds that are coming out this year, because this past harvest was so wonderful. We're making such bold Bordeaux's. I really think our reds this year, which won't be coming out for a while, are going to just blow everyone's socks off, because it was just everything went right in terms of the temperatures and the amount of rainfall. Yeah.
Kevin, are you
So
still there?
I think you're going to be seeing some really excellent Maryland wines. I know in our region at least.
Can somebody hear me?
Damon, we hear you. Thank you for coming back. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
That's okay. I can't see myself. I can only see you.
I do not see you. There's a video option typically down on the bottom. There you are, sir.
What's up?
Much better. So the last thing we heard from you was a fascinating piece of information that the Urban Winery was the location where maybe the first mechanical arm was developed.
That's what you heard last. Sure. Hey, just like Marines got to adapt and overcome. Sorry about that. So the building, just a nice historical perspective with the veteran and the military, background. I thought, when I learned of that information, I thought that was, pretty inspiring that, innovators, even back in the 50s, used this space to create something amazing and awesome. And here we are in, 2020, unbelievably. And we're innovating and doing some really fun and exciting things here at the Urban Winery as well. But I think as I was talking, I think the part that was missed was our business being completely shut down and our tasting room operations screeched to the halt. Our whole central part of being an urban winery is its parrilla. It's one of our wines that we, George and I, have produced for a number of years. It's a full-bodied white wine, but it's the meaning of parrilla. The parrilla is to gather together with loved ones, and you do that centered around wine, and that's the center part of the Urban Winery concept. The Taste, Learn, Create, where you can come and taste the wines that George and I have been producing for a number of years, and then experimenting and trying interesting and new things like canned wine or bourbon aged wines, just staying relevant, staying fresh, staying interesting. Our Metro series, those types of things we do right here on site. Our employees are missing from this process. Our employees, we have a very dedicated, trained staff, not your average person that delivers food. I mean, they're well versed. We have over 150, 170 bottles of wine at any given point here at the Urban Winery. A lot of that we produce, but there's a lot of other interesting Maryland wines here and other international wines and specialty offerings to learn something, to make the effort to understand wine, but not just the liquid it goes in your mouth, not just the where it came from, but the stories behind each one of those things. It's fascinating. Different regions around the world. It's fascinating. Maryland in this little microcosm is as big as it seems to us, is a very small little place in the world that's unique to somewhere else. I think that's what's fascinating. And we do that with food and with pairings and the learning spirit at the Urban Winery. But our staff, and we're desperately working with, with our delivery methods. We have a GoFundMe page out for our staff, trying to get them some much needed payroll. I mean, payroll just happened for us on Friday. We have another payroll in 2 weeks, and that's the big one. That's the one that's going to hurt the most because there's zero. There has been no traffic here. Skeleton crew, just Georgia and I at this point, and we're working with getting them the information as we receive it for unemployment and offering, the benefits that are available to them, and it's devastating. But the light is at the end. There is a light. I'm glad to hear some of the news coming out today. You take this one step at a time. You approach each fire cautiously. You put it out, and you make adjustments and changes. And I think this will be better for us if we can get through it. Still a ton of uncertainty. Still, the bills have to be paid. All these types of things. I'm just glad here now that if things happen here, we have this wonderful brand and this opportunity to shift. If it's not full tasting room, maybe there's going to be some level of an interesting concept coming from that. We don't quit. George and I are not quitters. We're not going to quit. We might make some adjustments, but that's normal. And that's just the bottom line. That's what's happening right here in the middle of Silver Spring. It's the state's only urban winery. Started 5 years ago. This would be our 5-year anniversary. 5 years, June. So I'm super proud of what Georgia has done and the progress that she's created and the wonderful wines that she's producing. And unfortunately, I can only share 3. We have lots of beautiful wine that Georgia makes all the time. I have the opportunity to share only 3. Jim, if you're ready to start with that, I can go, unless you have a question about the Urban Winery or if I missed something or.
No, I was just going to say in the few minutes that we were trying to reconnect with you, Robin and I discussed the pains that this uncertain period is putting on the industry across the board. And I think that you've summed it up very well. I think that everybody understands that there's a pinch going on with local business, but it's reassuring to hear from business operators and owners that their staff is their family, and those are the people that are important to them. And the whole concept, especially being born out of something as passionate as your family's business, are important.
I mean, I'm hearing it from other business owners too. I mean, you don't start a small business on a promise. You start with everything you have, everything. No bank's giving you money on a promise. Hey, this is going to be a pretty cool concept. No, you put your house up, you put your cars up, you put whatever it takes to get it up and running. And I've heard a lot of small business innovators, in our industry doing those types of things because it is a risky business. This is not for the lighthearted. This is not for the soft stomach. I married a Spartan and I'm a Marine. So our kids are doomed to be tough some way, somehow. So we're not going to quit. We're going to survive somehow.
Well, I really appreciate that outlook and optimism right now. I think everybody can use that. I also think that everybody can use the opportunity to hear about your wonderful wines, because when this whole thing blows over, people are going to need to come and show you guys some support. So let them know what they can come and get.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have, I just say it, there's like 3 lines, three innovative things that I wanted to share, and I'm just going to share one of the each. The first one is our Metro series. It's one that is the crowd favorites at the festivals, and we're terribly missing a lot of the festivals. We're devastated to hear about Wine in the Woods. I'm sure as others were, but that's where we get to shine. In our Metro series, it's for the not so sweet people, but it's for the semi-sweet crowd, and that's what we've been pushing, and that's what we've been sharing over the last 5 years. And what is that difference, and what makes sweet versus semi-sweet? And it's science. I talk about it on a graduated scale, very rudimentarily, 0 being dry, 1 being off dry, 1 to 3% residual sugar being semi-sweet, and then 3 to 6% being dessert or sweet wines, and then 6% or more being dessert style port wines. Sorry, I was supposed to there. That's how we describe it. And so our semi-sweet wine, our most popular one, is called White Cranberry Pinot Gris. Beautiful florality. Pinot Gris always has a natural florality to it anyway. This one doesn't disappoint, with a little bit lime and nectarine on the nose. This is a really wonderful, fresh, semi-sweet wine. It still doesn't have that overly sweet sensation. The sensation you just get that you just sucked on a Jolly Rancher or something like this. More of a refined finish. The florality and the acidity balance in it really kind of presents itself, but on the nose, beautiful nectarine, lime, citrus notes on this one, but the florality is really the star of this show. We talked a little bit about types of pairings. This is good with spicy dishes. I enjoy it when I walk over here to the Thai restaurant, and with sushi. We have a Jamaican patty cake over here in the grill in this area. Oh my God, people go there, get the Jamaican pie, and then they come by, pick up a bottle of our wine, and you can see the light on their face when they're going to go home. They're going to enjoy that with like a curry or something like this. But this is the White Cranberry Pinot Gris. I think another good pairing with that would also be, anything with Old Bay or good with crab cakes and such. So that one right now is retailing just under $20. It's $19.99 on your retail stores. Here at the tasting rooms, just about $24 actually. That comes with wonderful service too. So that's why it's a little bit of a change there. but 24 for that wonderful white cranberry Pinot Gris, and that is part of our Metro series. And we have a lineup of that series, but I only was able to share one. But if you wanted to try the other ones, come to the eventually come to the tasting room and enjoy them there. Or follow us, the urbanwinery.com, Facebook, Instagram, all of those. We do a majority of the Maryland Wine Association festivals throughout the year, and we see a lot of fans and repeat customers. So stick with us, and that will be at the festivals as well.
So Damon, the Metro series, you're saying that whole series, what are the similarities in the wines in that family of brands, essentially?
Yeah, a lot of people say, one wine is sweeter than the other, and I guess they get that impression through the fruit characteristic or the underlying essence of the wine. There's not an intrusive part about the wine. There's not that fruit particularly introduced into wine. It's just how that florality, how how you interpret it presents that way. There's not limes and nectarines created in the wine. It's just how it expresses itself. But all of them, from the blueberry Pinot Noir, which is probably our second most popular in that series, to the Merlot Rosé, it's all about 2% residual sugar, 1.5 to 2% residual sugar, but it's definitely always going to be in that range. That's the Metro series. And oftentimes people say, well, I like this, but I'm glad it's not too sweet. Like I said, that's why it's called semi-sweet. So there's definitely been an interesting, conversation about educating our consumers about the differences between, what other wines in other areas considered sweet wines, and that's cool. There's a market for that, but I think there's certainly a wonderful market for the semi-sweet wines as well, and that's where we're hitting it out of the park with the Metro series.
What do you have next? Oh, I got you right in the middle of a sip. I'm sorry.
No, there's no need for sorry. The next one is our canned wine. Everybody knows that this has been an ongoing trend. I'm glad to be able to participate in it. We've get a lot of compliments on our design. We had a design firm out of Frederick called Octavius Designs. Sue over there created this wonderful designs. We've won, national awards on packaging for it. And we haven't even opened up the canned wine yet. But it's just an idea that I had about a crossover between, beer and wine. I'm a fun consumer of beer and beverage. I love even making beer at home. I've done that for many years as well. But my affinity is with wine. But the combination of two, when George and I are making wine and it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes because the fruit doesn't wait. And we're hand pressing, of course, wine with one of our old basket presses, because that's what we love to do. We love doing that. Either I'm drinking a beer or an ouzo, but most likely it's a beer, and I like IPAs. And so this idea of using the hops and a wine was an idea that I had for some years, and it was the science, it was the practice of doing it. It was the research and development, as I call it, is probably the best part of producing this wine. I haven't found many on the market that are in any level of comparison, certainly not in can. So I think that's innovative, and I want more people to know and realize that. The vessel is innovative, obviously, because of its freshness, and the hop aroma inside, just like a beer, is best presented encased in a can versus in a bottle, where there's obvious microoxidation and the longevity of the florality and what makes the distinctive characteristic in the nose evaporate quicker through cork. But in a can, it has no escape. But when drank from the can, it's like an explosion. And I had a really wonderful experience when I was skiing with some friends up in New Hampshire, and we went to Hetty Topper, the Alchemist, and it's just the beer in the can was just wonderful explosion of hops. I wanted that same thing. I wanted to do that with wine, though. And that's why hopefully I have accomplished with the Hoppa wine. It is, don't tell everybody, but tell everybody. It's a Vidal Blanc right here from Maryland. And it's with Cascade and Citra hops. We tried different types of hop combinations and things. We felt like this one really kept the balance, kept the florality to not be invasive or intrusive. It's just wonderful. 3 words I describe this wine in can. I'll leave it because I'm talking with it. Is green, grassy, and grapefruit. If you just keep those 3 things in your mind when you're enjoying this wine in a can, that's the sensation you're going to get. It's green because you can still feel like the citrus notes from the underlying wine. You got this grassy because it's hoppy. If you don't like hops, you don't like this. This is not for you. But if you love hops and you like that citrusy, that hoppy, grassy nose, it's in there. If you like the finish of a grapefruit, the high citrus profile, that little tingly mouthfeel that you get when you're enjoying like a Sauvignon Blanc or something like that, or a wonderful Fidal Blanc, this is the wine in it. It's got this really wonderful green, grassy, and grapefruit. And if you could smell this as you pop open the can, it's magic. It's like magic in the bottle, and I'm going to enjoy on behalf of all of you watching right now.
For full disclosure, I originally met Damon when I was a beer salesperson, and he was one of my wonderful customers. And we had a lot of great conversations about opportunities to bring beer drinkers to the wine world and wine drinkers to the beer world. And Damon, from my experience with this wine that you're sharing right now, I think you nailed it. This is a really innovative product, and I think that it's a great way to kind of embrace the taste characteristics of drinkers from both sides of that beer and wine aisle. So I commend you on that. Good job.
Yeah, I appreciate it. A lot of people are scared about it though, and I'm glad that we're able to get the word out about it. People don't know how to approach it, and I say keep your mind open. Keep your mind open. Enjoy something. It's not a beer. There was no beer hurt during the process of making this wine. This is 100% wine, and by technicality, it's considered a botanical wine. And so those who don't eat kale and don't like lettuce, those guys, they might not enjoy the fruit characteristic of it. But for me, it's fun. It's refreshing. It's kind of like the wine that I would drink if I was cutting down the tree. I'm done with the Miller Lite.
This is the
I'm down
outdoor
with the Hopper wine. It's the manly man wine.
So let me ask a quick question. What is if it's a trade secret, don't share, but what's the hopping process with a wine? Is it similar to dry hopping a beer?
Yeah. It's all about timing though. Timing, big factor. Well,
I'm sure you have much more capability to pull in those aromatics with a higher alcohol.
Yeah, product. But you can't. It's right. It can easily be overpowering very quickly, and I think with the blend selection that we put forward, it was from the mind to the can completed, right? Outside of that, I couldn't have imagined it coming out any other way. So I'm glad the way it turned out. We have a good amount of it. We're on our second run of it, and it's equally as amazing. Slightly different, still green, grassy, and grapefruit, but maybe I guess you'll just have to wait to try the second one. There you go.
Well, and that's another thing that the consumer needs to consider is that there will be variation with. Just like with different vintages of wine, there's going to be a variation when it comes to using ingredients like hops or any other fruit ingredient that's added to these great beverages, because it's an agricultural crop and it's something that's going to change year after year.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what makes the wine fascinating, is being a boutique winery where our products are not, in the hundreds per case. We are staying innovative. We're staying ahead as far as we possibly can, trying to create trends but be flexible as well. I know, Robin talked a lot about, Chambourcin. I love Chambourcin. Georgia doesn't have a great affinity for it, but I love it. It's one of my favorite varietals outside of Cab Franc, and doing some fun stuff with that, whether it be just, stainless steel and fruit forward, or we age it in Hungarian oak, or we're even aging it in some bourbon barrels. But Chambourcin, wonderful grape varietal, and it's fun to be flexible and moving around with different grape varietals.
Right before I share the tasting notes with the Haba wine, you gave me a price point for the Metro Series White Cranberry Pinot Gris, but I don't, is the price that you gave me earlier the price that you're charging for those cans at $10 a can?
Yes, $10 a can.
Fabulous. All right, I have just added.
And it's also every can is a half a bottle of wine, so that's the full 12 ounces.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and then it looks like you've got a pretty big, interesting wine at the very end. Way to wrap this up.
Yeah, of course. So I talked a little bit about that bourbon barrel Chamberson, and we also have a bourbon barrel Merlot from Kent Island, from our friend Mark over there at Kent Island with his Merlot. And we also have bourbon aged Vidal Blanc from our friends Jen and William Layton over at Layton Chance, where we get our Vidal. We have that really wonderful bourbon aged white wine. And a mix of all of that, we created a reserve as well. It's called Angel Share. Angel Share is a blend of Merlot, Tannat, and Kerrigan. The Merlot is from Mark, and it's aged 6 months in barrel, in barrels that we've received from local distilleries. I don't have a specific one because they were with multiple locations. So we're just saying local distilleries, but there are some here in Rockville. There's some in other places that we do get those barrels from in DC and such. But we're always looking for more of these bourbon barrels. This has been our fastest growing product line to date since we have introduced it, from the white wine even to this one. This one was introduced to our Barrel Club members February 14th, Valentine's Day. And it's called Angel Share, so it's in that theme and that heart, I think. But as we know, with Angel Share, the word Angel Share is the evaporation of the wine through the aging process within barrel. This is combined with the Devil's Cut from the bourbon barrel. So this wonderful full-bodied red wine is full of deep dark notes. The Tannat and the Merlot are just full of red fruit and then dark fruit with that Tannat, but the bourbon-esque finish is quite lovely. Definitely a full amount of vanilla. You get that full mouthfeel at the center of your tongue. You get that nice, luscious, fruit in the mid palate in your tongue, and it lingers. So it's got a really wonderful, like a bourbon-esque finish, instead of burning all the way down like a bourbon would, which is fun. But this one has got a little bit more of this wonderful, luscious coating down your throat, and it seems higher in content in alcohol, just because of the phenolics and the aromatics that are associated with aging it in bourbon. But this has definitely gone up to the 14 to 14 range in that regard, and it's a steak and potato style red wine. I would say people who enjoy having a cigar, or at the end of the night, or during the middle of the afternoon, if you're so lucky. But it's a wonderful blend that Georgia put together. It was certainly thought out and meticulously put together on her behalf. And we also all of our bourbon barrels, we wax the top, just kind of no micro oxidation, as minimal as possible, and we want to preserve that lusciousness, just like it came out of the thief from our barrel. That's what we're hoping to accomplish with this one. Cheers. How'd I do with that one? Anybody want to try that one?
That was a great description. I'm a big fan of an afternoon cigar, so if we can ever work that out where we can
hey, anytime, any place, sure.
So I'm really fascinated because we were talking earlier about this beautiful opportunity, and I'm going to unmute Robin so we can all kind of have a round robin. No pun intended there, but this idea of not only approaches to the business model of the urban winery versus what some people may have considered the more traditional, rural winery and agriculture enterprise. But there are also some very unique approaches to wine here. Damon, I know you have more what people would call traditional wines in your portfolio, But what you've shown
Yes.
today are some really innovative ways to keep people interested in wine or bring people into wine that may not have been there before. And Robin,
Absolutely.
you showcased 3 pretty traditional wines and then this beautiful rosé that also is meant to bring people in that may not be the most versed at wine, I imagine. But it's great to see that everybody in Maryland is offering an experience for everybody.
Right.
And I think that's commendable and very, very nice.
Oh, one of the things.
The whole urban wine, the experience is everything from being in a traditional farm method or a horse farm, which is fascinating, to being in an urban winery. I mean, everybody's trying to get a little bit of the experience under their belt because that's what sells. We sell wine by story, right? We've been doing it for over 3,000 years as humans, conversing over this wonderful liquid of God's. So I don't know. I hope everybody enjoys them.
Yeah.
Robin, what were you saying about the experience?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm so glad you talked about your staff because, for us, our staff is everything. And our staff, every time people come, we get kudos and things pouring in. And I think that's wonderful that you're doing a GoFundMe page. Have you had success with that? Doing that for your staff? I'm sure a lot of the wineries would want to know about that because I'm sure all of us had to tell people to go home.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Damon. We've been asking kind of throughout the country with some of the other wine guilds to see what members are doing or what the guilds are doing, and it sounds like you took a proactive step to find a way to offer some relief to your staff. Is that working out for you guys? Is that something that your staff is?
Yeah, we had a good initial boost when we first started this effort. I'm just trying to get as much awareness to the Urban Winery and then making sure they're getting directed to our GoFundMe page. That really is going to be a lifeline for my employees. I am on occasion, calling some certain staff in to help around the winery operations when they're mostly dealing with like the front of the house operations. Now that we have really flexible staff who do multiple things. So, I mean, I have over 20 people at one point working for me. Right now I have just about 15. We're hiring. We will be hiring. Hopefully, when we start this thing back up in May, I need more and more people to get the word out. So it's I'm glad in some way this crazy, stupid time that we're having to live with is helping us refocus our business in a way that we're being forced to rethink about it positively, and then how I can innovate going forward. I'm looking past this April 30th deadline. I just got to survive a little bit longer and see what that looks like, and I'm ready to go. I mean, May 1, it's game on. It's all hands on deck, and I want to get people trained up and keep the ones that we do have by showing our support and appreciation during the time that I can. I mean, as a small business owner, I can't make money come out of thin air. I mean, I got to get sales. Sales are essential. With the rent that's due here, I mean, it's intense. But with faith, with family, with love, we can accomplish a lot of those things and just worry less and just work to getting everything necessary. I took this opportunity with you to do this today because I want to let everybody know what the Urban Winery is about. That I have a lot of, we have a lot of staff that, relies on Georgia and I take that job very seriously. And I want to make sure that they're taken care of as best as possible. That GoFundMe page, it's just about $1,500. We're trying to raise 10 over these next 2 pay periods so we can continue to give employees, in addition to what they have on their unemployment benefits, we're trying to give them more. And I'm trying to pay them too with hours that I need them here to help me lift heavier things or moving barrels or boxes or just moving inventory from one place to another. A couple hours here, a couple hours there makes a difference. A lot of our employees live close, luckily, so we don't have that issue. If somebody needs to get picked up, I'll pick them up. We're doing everything we possibly can to make that effort as strong and supportive to all of our families. Yeah, and
Well,
selling online, we really revamped that process as well. My tasting room manager Zoe has been amazingly instrumental in getting those things up and running faster than we were already on schedule to be doing. And people are ordering. We could absorb more too, just the same. So I hope this message gets out to everybody about certainly the GoFundMe page. Hope that this will increase our awareness, exposure throughout the wine community out there. We're not just wines that George and I produce, we're a fun experience. So when we have many other wines, we got wines from Kevin at Harford Vineyards and Tien over at Far Eastern Shore and Bert over at Bassignani and all the others in around here, Elk Run. We have wonderful wines that we support our other Maryland wineries. Every time you sell a bottle here, we replenish it with a case over there, and everybody wins. So I want others to know that the Urban Winery is here for other wineries as well. Robin, we should be getting your wines here shortly, as soon as possible, so that we can start selling some of that wonderful rosé that you talked about and supporting your efforts here at the Urban Winery as well. So offline, we'll figure that out.
Yeah. So,
I love hearing great collaborative ideas like this.
yeah.
Well, I want to thank everybody who tuned in today. Robin, thank you for your time. Damon, thank you for yours. For everybody out
It's
there,
my
thank
pleasure.
you. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. We're all trying to figure out how the web conferencing works best, and I think that it worked out pretty well.
So can I just do one more?
It just kept the suspense going, right? It was just to keep the suspense.
That's
Yeah.
it. What do you have to add, Robin?
Yeah, great.
Abracadabra.
All my wine club members that have been so supportive and so excited to see this new tasting room. It will be open. You will see it. You will love it. And we can't wait for you to come back.
And on that note, I would just like to remind everybody that both Hidden Hills Farm and Vineyard and the Urban Winery are open for your support. While you can't go and visit them in person and hang out in their beautiful tasting rooms and experience what their businesses are all about, please, please, please order from them, pick up from them. And both of these wonderful wineries are offering delivery services in their area. Ask how you can get their wine in your home. This is the last couple of days of Maryland Wine Month for this year. And on Saturday, we encourage everybody to open local wine and celebrate with local wine. So go out there, grab some local wine, call Robin, call Damon, get some great wine, and join us on Saturday for the last hurrah of the month. Again, thank you both very much and have a wonderful afternoon. And we'll see you on the other side of all this crazy stuff.
Bye.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.